Hi, third graders. We're going to have our second lesson in your science climate package. So grab it and follow along. This page is a continuation from last week with the quest check-in. Remember how we talked about pretend that you're going to make a movie and you're going to travel to different parts of the world where there are different climates? Well, this one talks about moody weather. Your movie will have outdoor scenes. Different kinds of weather can change the mood of the movie. Think about the type of movie you would like to make and kinds of scenes your movie will have. Then think about how you can use weather to make those scenes better. Filming in an area with a certain climate will make it easier to find the weather conditions you need. So these would be some things to think about. Number one, think of an outdoor scene you will have in your movie. What will happen? Number two, how will weather be part of what happens in the movie? And number three, you need to plan ahead to film the scene. Where in the world should you go to be sure you will find the right weather? So these questions are just for fun, for you to think about how weather affects the movie scenes that you will make for your movie. Remember, this is just pretend to get you to think about different types of weather in different parts of the world. So this page has a chart and some graphs that you can fill out. So let's look at the first paragraph at the top and read to see what it's asking us to do. Draw and analyze graphs. The climate of one place on Earth can be very different from the climate of another place. The table has information about the temperature and the amount of precipitation in two different cities in the summer and in winter. Okay, let's remind ourselves. Temperature is how warm or cold something or somewhere is, and precipitation is rain, snow, sleet, or hail that is falling to the ground from the clouds above. So those are the two items that you are going to graph on the graphs below. Now let's look at the chart. We have these two cities, New York, which is on the east coast of the United States, and San Francisco, that's on the west coast of the United States. This first column is the average summer temperature. Then the second column is the average winter temperature. Then this third one is the average summer precipitation, and over here is the average winter precipitation. So you're taking temperature and precipitation of New York and San Francisco, and down here at the bottom you're going to draw, for number one, the directions say to draw two bar graphs that compare the temperatures in New York and San Francisco. So let's look again. You're comparing temperatures in both New York and San Francisco, and this first one is the summer temperature. The second one is the winter temperature. So I'm going to show you how to do this. In your packet, you have this same page. You can fill it out with me and then finish when we're done. So I'm looking down here at the bottom where it says New York, and over here it says San Francisco. I know from the top that this is talking about the summer temperature. So I need to look at New York summer temperature, and I see that it says 28 degrees Celsius, or that would mean 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, where in the United States, we are more commonly using the Fahrenheit measurement, but I'm noticing over here on the graph, it tells us that it wants it in Celsius. So I'm looking at the summer temperature for New York, and it says 28 degrees. So I have to look over on the side here, and where would 28 be? Well, between 25 and 30. So I'm going to draw myself a bar graph. I know 28 is higher than 25, but it is not quite 30. So I'm going to draw my graph just like that, and then color it in. It's kind of hard to color on the computer to fill it in, but you can do that at home with your pencil. So I just graphed the summer temperature in New York. Now I need to graph the summer temperature in San Francisco. And I look here at the table, I see it says 20 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to look back over here at the chart. I'm going to go up to the line that matches 20 degrees, and I'm going to draw myself a bar, and then I'm going to color in the bar, just like that. All right, so now it will be your turn. You're going to do this next part, the winter temperature in degrees Celsius for New York and San Francisco. You're going to need the information from the table to help you fill those in. Then down here at the bottom, we have the directions that say draw two bar graphs that compare precipitation in New York and San Francisco. Now, the precipitation is the amount of rain, snow, sleet, or hail that falls to the ground, and they're measuring these in centimeters. So this first graph will be the amount of summer precipitation, and the second will be winter precipitation. So you'll need to look for the summer precipitation for New York, then you'll need to look for the summer precipitation for San Francisco and draw your bar graph. Then you'll do the same thing for New York and San Francisco down here for winter precipitation. All right, go ahead and pause the video, work on that, and when you're finished, unpause and let's continue on our lesson. All right, this is the beginning of lesson 2. It says climate change. Notice that over on the left-hand side we have our learning target. It says, I can describe ways in which climates can change. Explain how the global climate is changing. And there are some vocabulary words that will show up in our reading as we read through this. We have greenhouse effect, so keep an eye out for that word. Greenhouse gas, keep an eye out for that. And climate change. All right, follow along with me as I start up here at the STEM connection. Scientific data indicate that the climate of Earth is getting warmer. This change has caused several changes in the Earth system. For example, the level of water in the ocean is rising. Higher ocean levels can cause flooding in cities and towns near the seashore. Usually, the floods happen during a storm. Wetlands, a type of ecosystem, help prevent floods. Wetlands are areas that are covered with water at least part of the year. Wetland plants filter water. Many kinds of animals live in wetlands for some or all of their life cycle. Wetlands have been destroyed as people build houses and other structures. Scientists and engineers work to build new wetlands. All right, down here at the bottom, we have this part that says infer. Let me remind you about what infer means. It means use what you already know, so in your brain, and the clues in the text to figure out what something means. So even though the answer might not be in the text, you have information in your head and in the text that can help you figure out what it means. So this is something to think about. Many wetland plants have deep roots, so they go into the ground. How do the roots protect the soil? So just something to think about. When you have a thought, go ahead and write it down on those lines there. Push pause until you're done, and then let's continue on the video. So this is an Investigate lab. You do not need to do this, but this is something that might be fun, something you want to try at home. It says, what do tree rings show? Scientists collect data, draw conclusions, and then share their findings. How can you use data to determine the age of a tree? So you have the option. You can read through this and do it at home if you would like. And then I would love to hear what your findings were. So if you choose to do this lab, let me know and tell me what you found out. These 2 pages talk about something called the greenhouse effect. So what is a greenhouse? A greenhouse is a glass building in which plants are grown that need protection from cold weather. So let's read at the top and find out what is the greenhouse effect. In a garden greenhouse, a glass ceiling and walls allow some energy from sunlight to be trapped and warm the inside of the building. The greenhouse effect describes how the atmosphere traps energy from sunlight and keeps Earth warm, similar to a garden greenhouse. Certain gases in the atmosphere, called greenhouse gases, help trap some of the energy in the atmosphere. Some energy not trapped by greenhouse gases is absorbed by the ground or water on Earth. All of the energy on Earth that comes from the sun eventually goes back into space. So let's look at this diagram. You see the Earth in the middle, and then over on the left-hand side, it says atmosphere. This is all of the space around the Earth. Down over on the right, we see greenhouse gases, and there's some arrows going in toward the Earth and some coming out. And over on the top right hand, it says draw paths of energy from the sun to the greenhouse to demonstrate how the greenhouse effect works. And this diagram over on the right hand side is a greenhouse. And it's asking you to draw where the energy from the sun is coming from and how the energy comes out from the inside of the greenhouse. And notice how much more is going in and it's not letting quite as much out. So the words over here on the left hand side, we see greenhouse effect and greenhouse gases. Those are words that you're going to need to know what they mean. So I would reread this text because there's going to be questions in your assignment in Schoology about those 2 words. Okay, follow along with me under the heading Natural Factors and Climate Change. Scientists have gathered data about the climate of Earth over time. The data supports the idea that Earth's temperature has changed during Earth's history. Over a long time, a place can become hotter or colder. The amount of precipitation can also change. Climate change is a change in temperature, precipitation, or other weather patterns over a long time. Some climate changes happen because of natural causes. Volcanoes can release ash and other particles that block sunlight. Then the surface of the Earth can become cooler. Again, notice that climate change here is in bold print and yellow highlight. So make sure you know what that means because that's going to be one of your questions in your assignment. All right, follow along as I read under the heading Human and Climate Change. Human activity can also change climate. When we burn fuels for heat, transportation, or electricity, carbon dioxide is produced. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere. Some heat in the atmosphere is good. It is why life can exist on Earth. But scientists have evidence that Earth's climate is getting warmer much faster than during any other time in its history. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is increasing too. A warmer climate can affect many systems on Earth. All right, I want to draw your attention to this second question down here because this is going to be one of your questions in Schoology. It says, how do human activities change climate? So I want you to think back to some of the things that were mentioned on this page and think about how humans can change the way that the weather happens around us or changes in our atmosphere. What are things that humans do that can affect our climate? Okay, boys and girls, so now that we've finished reading, I want you to, if you are a hybrid student, you're going to fill out the paper that you got from Mrs. Jaramillo. If you are an online student, you are going to fill out the answers to the questions in Schoology. All right, good luck, boys and girls.